morning, saints. Please be seated. Oh, it's great to be here again. Thank you for letting me stand at the chance of steps and perhaps share some thoughts with you this morning. I share a wonderful friendship with a man named Dylan. And Dylan and I share many things, and we share the spiritual journey together, but we also share a love of baseball. And more importantly, we share a love of t-ball. And I think if you need a barometer or you need a indicator of where society is at this point, I don't think you can get a better one than a t-ball game. So this morning, I'd like to share with you a few thoughts that I have called choking up. And it's not about the Heimlich maneuver, or it's not about that hairball that your cat leaves you that present. No, it's about a term, a baseball term, and what it means is when you're batting. And the bat gets too heavy, or the bat gets too big, or the bat gets too uncontrollable. You simply move your hands up the bat shaft a little bit to a more comfortable place where you have more control over the head of the bat. And that's called choking up. And so that's what I want to speak to you a little bit about today. I don't often preach about John, as I've shared with you many times. John is not one of my favorite gospels, but this morning, since everything is about John, I don't have much of a choice. But actually, this morning is a lovely piece from Revelation that I want to share with you a little bit about. So Dylan and I share this love of t-ball, and we share with each other video clips and anecdotes from from my grandchildren and the children in his lives and those he's known, these anecdotes about t-ball. I want to share a couple of them with you. First, if you remember in the Gospel of John, Jesus says, I am coming soon, right? I'm coming soon. Watch for me, and that I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. And I think in these two stories I'm about to share with you, we do see, in fact, the beginning and the end. The first one is a t-ball game. It's a beautiful day, sun shining, and the children are having a great time. And there's a slow rolling ball hit down to the first baseman, which unbelievably the first baseman actually fields. He actually fields the ball. It went into his glove. And he's in that difficult space between the pitcher's mound and the baseline. So he's really, really far from the base. And so after he fields the ball so gracefully, he sees the batter run by him, his helmet wiggling, and he's trying as best he can to get to first base. And the first baseman takes the ball and throws an amazing strike that hits the runner right in the helmet. Down goes the runner, dazed, absolutely dazed. The coaches and some of the family members run out to see how he's doing, and he's doing okay. Like most kids, he shakes it off. And the coach has a few words to say to the first baseman. He said, "Why did you do that?" He said, "I couldn't let him get to first base. I couldn't let him get to first base. I had to do anything. I had to do anything." Second story. Again, t-ball game, and there's a young batter, and he's not much bigger than the T. His helmet just kind of sticks over the T. And you can see he's visibly struggling. He swings the bat. The first time he hits the tee and knocks it down. Second time he misses the ball completely. Third time he actually loses his grip on the bat and it sails down the third baseline. And we hear the crowd behind him saying, choke up, choke up, choke up. Reminds me of Good Friday, you know, when you give us Barabbas, you know, choke up. And the little kid has no idea what that means, but he hears the crowd telling him to do something, and he's unclear about what it is. Finally, his opponent, the catcher, puts down his mitt and takes off his face mask, goes over to the young boy, moves his hands gently up the bat. And so his hands are about this far from the end of the bat shaft. He calmly retrieves his mask, puts it back on, gets back behind the plate. Umpire puts the ball on the tee, and you can imagine, whack, whack. The ball goes sailing down the third base line. And the young boy couldn't believe it, and off he goes down first baseline with his helmet jiggling and a giant smile on his face. The Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. You know, I don't ever that I can remember preach about the apocalypse, but I'm going to today. Can't remember that I ever gave a fire and brimstone message, but I think I might today. So if that scares you, now would be a good time to go get a cup of coffee. But no, you know, Jesus is an apocalyptic preacher, and what does that mean? He's always preaching about the end times, right? The end times. He's always saying, I'm going to come again. Things are going to change in the end times. And that was a fairly common Jewish view, that the Son of Man was going to come again and change everything for the better. And that the Son of Man would lead the Messiah to the chosen people, and that everything was going to be better. And Jesus, being a Jew, adhered to that, and we hear about it in his preaching and teaching. In fact, Jesus believed that the Son of Man and the Messiah would probably come during his lifetime. And so did the disciples. Apocalypse. What does that mean to us? Most of us, when we think about the apocalypse, we think about the end of the world, right? The end of the world. The four horsemen of the apocalypse riding down the street, you know, with their skulls and their swords, and buildings toppling and flaming meteors coming from the sky and buildings on fire. The end of things as we know it. But saints, I want to offer a different definition of apocalypse to you today. Apocalypse is when society unravels and we unravel with it. Apocalypse is when society unravels and we unravel with it. And saints, I can't think of two more stunning examples of the apocalyptic nature of where we are today than what happened these past few weeks. In Buffalo, we see elders mowed down in the grocery store, doing nothing more than getting sustenance for their families. And just last week, we see 18 angels sacrificed for what? For what? Sacrificed on the altar of an AK-47. Sacrificed on the altar of an automatic weapon, and an 18-year-old boy who chose to use it for bad. the apocalypse, the unraveling of society. Saints, I believe we're there. I believe we're in the midst of it. I believe it's all around us. Just look and see what's out there. Not brothers and sisters loving each other. Brothers and sisters in their own camps. Shouting their own slogans at one another. Raising their fists across the open battlefield. Some armed to the teeth. Some armed with battle gear. With flak jackets. Grenade launchers. God knows what else. The apocalypse is here. So what do we do about it? What do we do about it? Is it truly, if this is the unraveling of society, how do we begin to knit it back together? What is it that we do? How do we begin to knit the tapestry and the fabric of our society back together? Well, I think we have a perfect example of it in the young man who took off his catcher's gear and helped the young boy hit his first hit down the third baseline. Showed him how to choke up. Showed him how to be better. Showed him when he couldn't control the bat anymore. Showed him how to do it. That's on us, saints. That's on us. We are to be the knitters, to return the tapestry of society back to where it once was. You know, every day there's an amazing group of men and women who meet downstairs in recovery. They call themselves Miracle at Noon. Miracle at Noon. And every day another miracle indeed occurs. And what every alcoholic knows is that usually change doesn't come until you get as bad as you can possibly get. You know, they have a saying, I hit rock bottom, right? Can't get any worse. Sold everything that I have, alienated my entire family, haven't taken a bath for 6 weeks, but still I'm drinking. Then comes that moment of realization that I can't live this way any longer. I've got to do something different. This isn't working. It's unsustainable. Saints, I think as a society, that's where we are. That's where we are. We're in that bottom place where we finally have that realization that the only place we can go is up. And how do we do that? Again, another example from our brothers and sisters who are walking the recovery journey. How do we do that? How they do it one day at a time. Sometimes 1 minute at a time, or 1 second at a time. One decision at a time. And saints, that's how we're going to knit society back together. And you and I are going to do it. One decision at a time. One act of kindness at a time. One showing how a young batter to choke up at a time. We stop throwing the baseball at the head of our opponent, knocking him to the ground, and simply show him how to swing his bat better, with more accuracy, gentler, lovingly. You know, saints, we really only have one thing that we're supposed to be doing. You know, they say, Father Joe, you keep saying the Jesus way is so simple. You know, all we have to do is love one another. And now you're telling us we only have one thing to do. And saints, I believe that's right. The one thing we have to do is to put good back in the world. Put good back in the world. Every day, every minute, every decision. Is what I'm about to do going to put good back into the world? Am I going to help my little guy choke up the bat? Or am I going to hit him in the head with a 75-mile-an-hour fastball? That's the decision we have to make, day by day, minute by minute. And like the alcoholic journey coming up from the bottom of their bottle or the bottom of their needle, this is us coming up from our apocalypse, from our unraveling of society. If these things are going to be done, they're not going to be done by Congress or state legislators or police or anybody else. It's going to be done by us, choosing to be better, choosing to be good, letting God's medicine, the Creator's medicine, flow through us back into the world. You know, we were talking theology the other day during our meander, our Thursday spiritual direction walk in the timber. The question we were trying to answer is, does God actually affect things in the world? You know, does God really do things? How does God interact with the world? You know, there's all kinds of theories. You know, some call it the puppet master theory. You know, where God is holding all the strings and, you know, manipulating 10 billion strings at a time. You know, and causing this and causing that, and then manipulating directly from God's hand to the action in the world. Well, maybe. There's another way. I think God, yes, definitely acts in the world every day. Every day, God is making His will and His plan in action in the world. How does He does it? Not through puppet strings, but through us. We're the intermediary. We're the intermediary. You've heard it said many times, we are God's hands, God's feet. We are God's eyes in the world. And that's true. That's true. God's work in the world doesn't get anywhere without us. We have to turn the tap on. We have to open the valve. So all of that sacred medicine that's coming from the Creator, coming through us, can go somewhere, can get out into the world and start to knit the tapestry back together. Saints, it doesn't get any worse than this. And every time I say that, it does get worse. 18 babies lying dead in their classroom, along with their teacher. We're in the apocalypse, saints. We're seeing the unraveling of society. And nobody's going to knit it together other than us. These words are offered in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.